Hello, everyone, and welcome to Drop the Gloves with Wichita Thunder head coach Malcolm Cameron. Drop the Gloves is a weekly program where you, the fans, get to ask your questions about the Thunder, hockey, or sports in general, or if you're just looking for some advice about life in general, then you will get straight answers from Coach Cameron. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about the big sweep over Rapid City last weekend. He talks with us about the Grey Cup, and the coach shares some advice with a frustrated wife out there. So let's get right to Drop the Gloves. So let's welcome back Coach Cameron this week. First of all, Coach, do you have team updates for us?
Not really. Everything's kind of day-to-day right now. Vince Arsenault is close to getting back into the lineup. Hoping possibly he can play against his old team here this weekend. So he's been out quite some time. But he's done a real good job keeping himself in shape, and we'll just see how it progresses here day-to-day.
You guys went to Rapid City this last weekend.
Yep.
Came away with two big victories. They were late victories for you, too. And earlier in the season, you were really dominating the third period. Do you feel like your team getting back into that kind of swing again?
Something we've had to change our style a little bit. We lost McCoy Camps and Gabriel Gagne prior to the game on Friday. So that drops down to 5 defensemen for the weekend. And then we had an injury on Saturday night in the first period, which dropped us down to 4 defensemen. So when you have those things happen to your roster and you lose players, you have to change your style a bit to suit the players that you do have here. So we played a little bit more conservative, certainly a little bit more grinding out, and very stingy defensively. So to only give up 3 goals in the 2 games on the road certainly showed that we can play good defense and score timely goals. So we were down 2-0 on Friday night and came back and scored 3 straight to win the game. I've always felt we've had the ability to score goals. We don't have to be risky defensively to do it. So we're starting to blend that a little bit better. So instead of winning games, getting 5-6 goals early and then hanging on to win games, we're finding timely goals and playing good defense.
This weekend you have Allen that comes in for 2 in Missouri, finishing it out on Sunday. Missouri started out really bad and has really come on of late. Both teams scrapping to get up in that Mountain Division. What are you expecting out of your team and the series as a whole?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, it's only Tuesday. Who knows what our lineup's going to look like by Friday? So, as injuries happen at the NHL level, there's the trickle-up effect through Binghamton and us, and we just have to wait and see what kind of lineup we're gonna play on or dress on Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend. So, but I do expect us to be able to play good, solid defense and make it tough on teams to score. Our power play PK continue to be real good parts of our game. That was the winning goal the other night on the power play early in the third period on Saturday night. So those are those timely goals you look for. Your power play can make or break it. Same with your PK. And we were on the plus side on Saturday night, and that's why we won.
You talked a lot about earlier on in the season about aspects of your team that was struggling. Goaltending has always been solid for you, though.
It has. I mean, both Drew and Scott have been giving us the chance to win each and every night, and that's what you want from your goalies. Almost tale of 2 different teams when they're in the lineup. It seems like when Drew's played his last 3 or 4 starts, he hasn't got a whole lot of goal support from our team. We've had to try and win him low-scoring games. We haven't put up a whole lot of goals with Drew in the net, and he's got a 249 goals against, and I think he's 4th or 3rd in the league in save percentage. So he's doing his job. We just got to find ways to score a few more when he's in the net. And then Scott, we've had no trouble scoring goals in front of him. It's just not being great defensively in front of him. So that seemed to have changed last weekend in both games. 3-2 and a 2-1 game. Timely goals for Drew and good stingy defense for Scott.
Excellent. Well, let's head to fan questions we have for you this week. We first of all begin with Nate from Wichita. He says, do you have a philosophy for how long a player should be on the ice on any one shift, or is that determined by you for each individual player? It just seems that some players stay on the ice for 2 consecutive shifts in comparison to other players.
Not usually. I mean, maximum ice time a guy should get in a shift would be no more than a minute. Ideally, you like it between 45 seconds and a minute. My philosophy is you can work hard and you can work long, but you can't work hard long. So, it's a very demanding sport, and if you're moving your feet the whole time you're out there, a minute tops is all you can give it for before you need to. Now, obviously, sometimes when guys are out there and we get a power play, and they've only been out there for a partial shift, they'll stay out with their power play unit. When you're at home, you can kind of control the tempo of the game a little bit. Guys can, pretend to change sticks to slow the face-off down, or talk things out to buy themselves an extra 15 seconds of rest prior to getting on the power play. But no, nobody ever double shifts like that. It's just impossible.
It just seems to me the only time that things like that could happen is when a player just they're changing, and one of your forwards just happens to stay on because he's got a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, they don't all come off at the same time because you can't. Now you're giving up opportunities for the other team. So typically the puck has got to be spotted in a position to get all of your forwards off. Very difficult in the second period with the long change, so you'll always have one forward and one defenseman stay out there to protect against giving up a breakaway or an odd man rush.
Next up is Amy from Derby. She says, do you and your coaching staff offer camps or instructions to younger kids who want to improve their skills?
We don't, but certainly are willing to help out. I made a commitment to the Wichita Youth Hockey Association that I would come out and help, and I'm going to start doing that as of next week. It's just been so tough right now managing our roster and all the call-ups and injuries that we've had and things like that. That's taken up a lot of my focal time. Is just on my group, but certainly going to help out with the youth hockey, and anybody that's interested can just get in contact with me through the Thunder office, and I'd be more than willing to help out.
Excellent. Andy from Wichita would like to know, he says, I notice a lot of fights go on at your team's games. Where do you stand on fighting in the game, especially in light of concerns about concussions?
Well, to be honest with you, most of the concussions come from hits. And irresponsible hits. There's very few concussions that you're seeing through pugilism now on the ice, because there's very few fights, actually. If you look at the number of fights in the ECHL today versus 10 years ago, it's a drastic difference. And then if you back it up 10 years before that, when I played in the league, it's probably about a quarter of what it was. I mean, it was nothing to have 5-6 fights a night back in the day. Now you're lucky you see one every 2 nights. Most of the concussion-related injuries now are through blindside hits, or what we call outside the 90 degrees, unsuspecting players being vulnerable against the boards, getting hit from behind. The equipment is such like armor now that when players get hit and it makes any contact to the head, there is that danger for a concussion. So to answer the question simply, I'm more concerned about the hits and the irresponsible hits for concussions than I am for anything else.
It seems like the league is kind of cracking down on those kind of hits, too.
They are. I mean, it started at the National Hockey League level and worked its way down to junior and college hockey, so that when players get to the professional level, they're a little bit more educated on what they can and can't do. And certainly we're seeing that in our games. We're very fortunate we haven't had any of those yet this year.
Next up is Phil from Wichita. He says, do you get to watch much of the NHL, and who do you like to win the Stanley Cup this year?
Something, I try not to watch a whole lot of NHL hockey, because I think, honestly, I work so many hours and my whole day is based around hockey. I'm sure when I talk to my wife back in Canada, that's all I talk about. I have to, well, don't you want to know how the kids are doing? So I try not to go home and watch NHL hockey on TV, because I find it can cause burnout, and then for me, I like to just go home and put on some television and watch some old episodes of Law and Order or CSI Miami, and that's kind of what I do. I don't watch NHL usually till playoffs.
Excellent. Jeremy from Winnipeg asks, Coach, could you explain how Ottawa had such a mediocre season but then beat Calgary, the team that looked like the best all season long, in the Grey Cup? The biggest upset in Grey Cup history, wouldn't you have to say?
I definitely would. I watched the Grey Cup. I'm a huge Canadian Football League fan. I thought for sure the Stampeders were going to win the game. But I'm really happy for the city of Ottawa, fans of the football franchise there. It's been 40 years since they last won a Grey Cup. They've gone through some terrible ownership there. The new ownership group of the Red Blacks also owns the major junior hockey team, the Ottawa 67s, class organization. They've revitalized that part of the city, and they've brought, a level of professionalism to the CFL back to Ottawa, our nation's capital. So I think it's great for the league. It was great television ratings. Any American people that watched it on ESPN2 probably saw a heck of a game. And I did forget to answer, who do I like to win the Stanley Cup this year? Something, it's hard to say at this time of year, because you look back to the LA Kings when they won their first cup a number of years ago. They snuck in as the 8th seed and end up peaking at the right time. It's so early in the year to say, you like this team, you like that team, because injuries and the grind of the schedule play such havoc on it. I've always been a Detroit Red Wing fan. I have been for a long, long time. I just like the way their organization has been, from Scotty Bowman to Mike Babcock and now Jeff Blashill. They're in pretty tough this year, I think, to even maybe make the playoffs. But they still have a lot of character and some pretty good talent on that team, so don't count them out.
Excellent. Next up is Tom from Augusta. He says, do you recommend that kids who are into hockey play other sports, and if so, which ones do you recommend?
I 100% do. I think the problem with today's kids that play hockey is the parents have got them into doing it year-round. Working at the prep school environment that I did the last 2 years, you really see the concentration. Like, we started September and finished at the end of June. It was a 10-month schedule of training, and then they got away from us, went home and trained all summer. So they've become one-sport athletes, and we would try and cross-train them in a lot of different ways, and you saw how uncoordinated they were. Guys couldn't catch a football. Guys couldn't throw a football. Guys couldn't jump. Guys couldn't dribble a soccer ball. The hockey players now, I think the better athletes are the ones that have always played multi-sports in the summer. Plus, you get away from burnout. It's tough to go to the rink for 12 months straight. I think you have to take that time off. I was never a 12-month hockey player. I played baseball, I played soccer, I played rugby, and I got into golf later in life. For me, team sports in the summertime are a great thing because it's a carryover from the hockey team, whether it's, Little League football or ball or soccer, whatever it is. People have to learn to be on a team and share and be compassionate and work together as a unit. And I really think golf is a great sport for hockey players because to me, it's the most mental challenging sport. You don't have anybody to back you up. Each shot is different. You have to regroup mentally each and every shot, and it's just you out there by yourself. So I think it can make an athlete become extremely mentally tough.
That's a good suggestion. We had a couple of people who were interested about your memory you talked about last week. So first of all, Lee from Wichita says, you talked on the show last week about your memory. Any chance we can get you on Jeopardy?
My wife's been saying it for years, and all my friends have been saying, we got to get you on Jeopardy. And hey, Alex Trebek's Canadian, I'm Canadian. Maybe we can work that out.
Our last question of this week comes from Jenny from Wichita. She says, Coach, I found your discussion on memory to be fascinating. I need your help. I've asked my husband to do a bunch of stuff lately, but he doesn't do it, and all I ever hear is, sorry, babe, I forgot. Any memory improving techniques he can employ so I can get laundry done and items needed at the store picked up?
Well, I can tell you first and foremost, it's not a memory issue. It's probably a lazy issue in that case. Being a husband and a father myself, I've tried that excuse many times. Oh, I forgot. My wife knows better. It's just you didn't want to get off the couch to do it. So, Jenny, that's probably more of a laziness issue than it is. The biggest thing is just being organized. Once you get organized, your life and your memory and everything, I have checklists in my head of things that I need to do each and every day. And when I go through those checklists, I know I haven't forgotten anything. And then it just becomes easy to remember things. So I know when I get up in the morning, I've got to revisit our lineup in terms of what happened the day before. I know that I'm going to evaluate our last weekend's games when I come up with a practice plan for the week to work on our weaknesses, things that really didn't go well for us the weekend before. I know that I have to do payroll each and every day. I know I have to manage a salary cap each and every day. I know I got to talk to players each and every day. I know I got to cut video for certain players each and every day. So it's easy to remember and to get into a routine, and then it just helps you. It seems like you're a memory genius, but you're really not, just because you're organized.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Anytime.
We want to thank Coach Cameron for joining us on Drop the Gloves this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Thunder coach, please send them to us at malcolmcameron@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's malcolmcameron@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Monday evening so we can give the coach a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Paneer, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time